Hello, welcome to 21 This Week. I'm Susan Heltemes filling in for Casey Aiken. Coming up next, love triumphs, health care for all, Governor Hogans Health, and the purple line prevails. Our panel will share their perspective and, of course, there are parting shots. Today, we're joined by former Maryland Democratic delegate Luiz Simmons, Republican activist Robin Uncapher, former Republican State Senator and Secretary of Aging Gene Roesser, and former Democratic House Majority Leader John Hurson. Stay tuned for these topics and more coming up on the 21 This Week. June 26th will go down in history as the date when marriage became a fundamental right for all in the United States, when the Supreme Court struck down 4 state marriage laws paving the way for gay marriage to be legal in all 50 states. Actually, there is no more gay marriage. There's just marriage for all. President Obama spoke after the decision, stating that love is love and that our union is a little more perfect today, and concluded by saying that America should be proud. Lou, Justice Kennedy was again the swing vote in this 5-4 ruling that declared any 2 consenting adults can now be married in the United States. This decision is being compared to the Loving versus Virginia decision. How's this going to go down in history?
It's going to go down as Justice Kennedy's decision. Justice Kennedy, former choir boy, he grew up in Sacramento, Republican, conservative, Reagan appointee, has been probably the primary advocate for gay rights and lesbian rights in the United States in the Supreme Court for the last several years. I think it shows that it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican appointee or a Democratic appointee, that when you're looking at equal protection, which is the way he looked at it, when you're looking at fundamental liberty rights, which he says is the right to get married, that it doesn't matter where your party is. So I think it's a significant decision, but I believe that history will go back and say that if it had not been for Justice Kennedy, which I think most people would agree, we would not have had this historic ruling on equal protection and marriage being what's called a fundamental liberty right.
Well, Robin, when the decision came down, I flipped channels between Fox News and MSNBC. On Fox News, the focus was on Justice Scalia, who talked about the Ubers of the 5 justices who are in the majority and who have taken over the government. He even talked about Nazi Germany. And at MSNBC, they were ebullient with a gay anchor talking to 2 of the litigants who were celebrating. This coverage demonstrates, I think, the divergent views on this issue. Now, what's your take on what happened today?
Well, first of all, I think it's a demographic issue. I think, yes, it will go down in history that Justice Kennedy made this decision, but it would have been made anyway by voters because if you talk about people who are under 30 years old, they do not see any reason why anybody can't get married. And so, you know, I feel a little bit like it was with women's rights. You know, the sexist older guys, they didn't change, they retired.
There's still some out there.
There's still some out there, but there aren't so many as when I first started working, when they were actually running the companies. Now they retired and they took the place. The same is going to happen with gay rights. More and more people, as people come up and don't really see much of a difference and don't see the point of having a big argument about this, you know, the country's changed.
But
for the better.
In places like Mississippi and Alabama, do you think it would have come for a long time if it hadn't been for this?
I think with young people, regardless, around the country, when you talk about young people, they don't see it.
Oh, they don't see it, but
I don't think you can generalize that way. And of course, I differ with this. I am not pleased with it. I am really sorry that the institution of marriage has undergone this very fundamental change. And I want to make clear that as far as rights are concerned, I'm all for it. But to put this on a pedestal of traditional marriage, no matter what, I, for one, and I think there are people like me out there, who I just can't.
So,
And
You
we'll
know,
never
Jean,
get
Jean,
used
what's
to it.
your take?
Gene, I appreciate that. I mean, I think there's a large population out there that is very disturbed by this decision, but that's what happens in the United States. Evolution takes place. There was a time when
Well,
blacks and whites couldn't marry.
You don't have to explain.
I know, but
To
I'm
me, it will always be marriage is between a man and a woman,
And that's
call
fine.
it and
Jean, that-
call it
that is
anything
fine
else.
for
But
you to
I have to
believe
state
that.
my
Yeah,
my view.
absolutely. You have an absolute right to have those opinions, but the world moves on in ways
Well, let's
that
hope
we
it moves on.
might not like it. I like it, but I think it's the way America evolves. Over time, these things happen, and I think the president acknowledged that this is sort of this is a progression.
And
And
he
I hope
also
and I
s-
hope the Republican Party, and I think they will. I think they will evolve as well. I thought Jeb Bush's statement on the issue today was profoundly good.
What did he say?
He basically said he believes in the institution of marriage as between a man and a woman, but the world needs to acknowledge that we need to respect everyone, that we can't have discrimination.
Well, I want to make very clear I do respect
Yeah.
everyone,
Yeah, of course you
but
do.
And
it
the
is
president-
not meant to be disrespect.
And the
it's just a
president
basic.
said today to not be offensive, about it, and not to
Right.
rub it in anyone's noses.
Well,
You've
I
got to
don't
be
intend to
careful.
do that.
Oddly enough, I actually think it strengthens the institution because
Everyone can get
because
divorced now?
No, because the statement, if you read the statement from the Supreme Court, the statement from the Supreme Court is pro-marriage. Now, the truth of the matter is, young people are not getting married.
And that was Justice
They are
Kennedy's
less likely to get
opinion.
married than anybody else.
Right.
This is actually a situation where people are saying, we want to get married.
Well, there's going to be a lot of evolution because I worry about children in gay households. That concerns me. I haven't heard anything.
Well, but
maybe
do
it's
you know,
going
My
well.
experience, Jean,
Yeah.
is I know a lot of gay couples with children.
Really?
The kids are great.
And
okay?
Senator
Just-
Rich
just-
Manlino
Pretty
is
much the
one of
same,
those,
yes.
and
Yeah.
the kids are great. But this is, it is indeed a momentous day, and I am sure we're going
Granted.
to talk about again.
I think we all agree on that.
Yes, and in another monumental decision just yesterday, it just keeps coming. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 this time that Obama health care survives. Some pundits have noted that Obamacare should be called Roberts Care in honor of Chief Justice Roberts, who helped save the day, or simply it could be called SCOTUS Care in honor of the Supreme Court of the United States. John, what does this decision mean, and is single-payer health care the next step?
Well, let me answer your last question, which is no.
Okay.
Single payer is not coming. I mean, despite Bernie Sanders, who will be arguing for it on the campaign trail. No, single payer was rejected essentially by the Democratic Party many, many years ago. We opted in favor of going with a private public system, and it's now been enacted. It's part of the fabric of this country. It's like Social Security, it's like Medicare, it's like Medicaid. It's not going to change. That's what this decision means. It's part of the fabric of this country. It can't be challenged and beaten back anymore. But single payer, no.
No.
I mean,
Well,
that was rejected.
One of the practicalities, though, of this may be that states decide to leave their own exchanges, because remember, the whole idea here was that you could only get the subsidies if the state ran the exchange. Many states have failed exchanges, Maryland being one of them, Massachusetts
But it's
being
working
another.
fine now.
I can only tell you that there is, in my opinion, tremendous incentive now for states to basically say, we don't want to be involved in running this very complex instrument. Let the feds do it, because that will be, I think, one of the unintended consequences that you might see.
And
Well,
today,
you know,
John
but
Boehner
the
is
the
saying
only
no.
the only thing I would say about that, Lou, is I think places that have successfully done their exchanges, Kentucky has a very successful exchange. They're not going to abandon that. I
No,
mean,
not all, but there are.
but there are
I
some.
would say
I agree
there's
with
still
that.
quite a few struggles.
But what's interesting is John Boehner has announced that they may try to defund it now when they do their next budget, which of course the president is going to veto. So anyway, Jean, now what is this ruling going to mean on the campaign trail for the Republicans wanting to be in the White House?
Well, the election is still a year and a half away, and frankly, I don't know. I think by that, the Affordable Care Act is getting more and more ingrained, and it's hard to say whether this will be a really major issue with all the real other problems that we face, and particularly the international situation. So my take on it is that I think they will. I myself believe that the Affordable Care Act is here to stay. I don't know what the cost of all this is going to be with all these subsidies.
But there are 14 million more people who have insurance
let's hope
that didn't have insurance before.
All right, well, let's hope that lots of healthy people are in there
Yeah. Well, young
to balance
people are
out the
signing up.
expenses. Well, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And in my case, as a self-employed person, I opted into the Maryland plan this year, and I pay the full premium, but I'm saving money, for a plan that's even slightly better.
Yeah, and that's a story I hear from Republicans. Republican people is like, well, I'm actually saving money from where I was paying in a private plan before. So,
well, that's not across the board. I strongly support Obamacare, but let's remember there are many, many people across the country who tell a different story, which is why it's still a 50-50 public opinion support. Many people did get kicked off their plans. Many employers will get, will kind of siphon people off. It's a question, as somebody said, of winners and losers. If there are more winners, people paying less, than losers who are paying more, it's going to gain support.
Well,
I think it's just a little empirically. We have to wait to see how many winners and how many losers and who votes.
I think there are more winners than losers.
I hope so.
I think so. And what's interesting is I think there are a lot of people out there who don't realize that things are going well for them now because of Obamacare. Like for even the thing your child can stay on your policy, what is it, till they're 26. People don't realize that that's part of Obamacare.
Well, that's not in contention at all.
No, but people don't realize that that's a part
But it
of
really wasn't, because the Republicans were looking for those kinds of changes for years and couldn't get them through because Ted Kennedy stopped them from getting them through because he wanted a particular health care system.
I actually agree with Robin. There were many small changes that could have been done over the years. The beauty of what happened is it all got done at once.
And here we are.
One big
and you know
piece.
what? And I got to cut you off there. And I know
right.
this is the topic we're going to talk about more, but we need to take a short break. We'll be right back. And we're back. Now, whenever two or more Marylanders gathered this week, the conversation inevitably turned to the health of Governor Larry Hogan, who announced this week that he has an advanced form of type B non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He begins aggressive chemotherapy on Monday, and obviously we all send prayers and good wishes for a speedy return. But Jean, the state also is praying for Governor Hogan, and the cameras have now shifted to Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford, who used to be on this show, who will be filling in for Governor Hogan in the months and weeks ahead as the governor seeks treatment. You worked with the Lieutenant Governor during the Ehrlich administration. What can you tell us about this man who would be governor?
First, I want to say that I was absolutely blown away by the governor's announcement, how he stood there like he was in someone's living room and just, put it out there. It was so admirable.
So transparent.
And then I was blown away that he said, "Now I'll take questions." And I thought, if I had been in his place, I would have exited. But it was a beautiful, it's
Totally,
sad, but really.
It was an example of how government should work. If you were a leader of a state,
and it
you
was
should
an
get out there.
incredibly
Totally
brave, and to keep his composure, and the whole family to keep their. But anyway, secondly,
what can you tell us about the Lieutenant Governor?
Well, second thing is that Governor Hogan made an excellent selection in Boyd Rutherford, because he is low key. He's tremendously capable. He's got a great work ethic. He's level-headed. And he does a good job. He did a great job on general services, and I think he's just fine for taking the reins right now. I really do.
And I would add to what Jean just said. He, for general services, he would come into my committee because we had all government services in our committee. The guy was a total star.
Totally prepared,
And,
right?
and I talked to State Treasurer Nancy Kopp this week, and her comment was, he is a gentleman, and she said, I love working with him. And I think,
And he's unruffled.
yeah, and I will tell you, last night at the Chamber of Commerce dinner, he was treated like rock star royalty.
Oh, really?
People were just thrilled to see him,
Good.
and
Oh,
he's always
that's
got a
wonderful.
smile. And he says he misses this show. So, and in an announcement made by Governor Hogan yesterday, Montgomery held a collective breath as the governor began a briefing stating that road projects will begin in all Maryland jurisdictions, including some work to be done on 270. And then he finally announced that the Purple Line will move forward. He said it's going to be a Chevy, not a Cadillac, the governor stated, but it will stay on the same route with the same number of stops. The state's going to pay less, and Montgomery and Prince George's counties are going to have to pay more. John, is the battle over, and is the Purple Line going to be built?
Well, I have been part of this battle for a long time.
No,
But
what is your position on the Purple Line, John?
It's opposite
But
mine.
I think the battle's over.
And it's gonna be
I
built.
think it's going to be built. Now, there are many, many hurdles before it gets built. There are lawsuits. There are issues related to funding from Prince George's County, apparently. So I don't think it's a total done deal, but it's basically a done deal.
And I agree with John. I think the real sleeper issue here is Prince George's County, because it isn't clear to me, unless he's announced it, how much precisely is he asking for Prince George's and Montgomery.
Well, I talked to
ante up.
I talked to County Executive Leggett last night, and he said we're going to make it work. I also talked to former Prince George's State's Attorney Glenn Ivey, and I said, "So, Glenn, what's happening in Prince George's?" And he said, "Well, it's going to be tricky over there, but he said I think we can make it work." And
Yeah, but what's going on here, Susan? There's like, yeah, you know, it's like, okay, Hogan says good, so everybody, you know, the Purple
and-
Line people are ecstatic, but it's
but
like
they're
there's
very realistic.
But
I think.
they have been, and they have been all along. There's still a lot of issues. They've still got lawsuits to go to. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Bottom line, I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime, but this is going to eventually get built.
Well, today I heard someone say, "Oh, it'll get built in about 30 years," and I went, "Here we go."
Well, it is. It's almost
The
30 years
ICC.
now.
It's like
You
the
know, this
inter-county
is- This
connector,
was
huh?
Sid Kramer who came up with this to be a balance against the light rail up in Baltimore. That
And
was the deal.
I was on that original committee 30 years ago. It was 30 years
It's
ago.
30 years
and
ago,
we
I'm telling
studied
you.
it for 3.5 years. And so I told the lieutenant governor last night, you could think of me as the mother birthing the Purple Line, but it has been that long. So now, Robin, I have to ask you, as a daily commuter, what does this decision mean to you?
Not much. In fact, just about nothing.
You'll
First
probably
of
be
all,
well retired
I
when
will
this
be
gets underway.
retired
You will be.
by the time anybody's even talking about the purple. I remember when they built the metro in DC, and that I was shocked that it finally got finished. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, I think it's a poison pill to expect PG County to come up with this money. It will delay it. Maybe someday they'll come up with it. I don't know. But it's this big.
Maybe
It's
they'll
a
have
much
to
more.
raise taxes.
It's a more serious. Well, you know, you don't have much of a tax base. That's your problem. You have to have people who can afford to pay taxes. It's not just a question
Except
of
a
raising them.
report just came out that Prince George's homes are going up in property, and the income level
Oh
is
yes,
going up.
yes.
and-
Well, you know, when your value of your house goes up, that doesn't mean your income goes up. And when you're thinking about, well, should I live in PG County or should I go live in Virginia? How high those property taxes are is going to make quite a difference. So it's just not a given. But the other part of it is that we need to do something for commuters in Maryland now, something that you can use now, which means fix the buses. You have serious problems with the buses. I keep hearing people who never take buses, say things like, no one takes buses, no one will take buses. Nonsense.
Buses are
thousands
filled.
of people take buses in Montgomery County every day, and those buses are in terrible shape.
Spoken like a bus rider. What's ironic is that last Saturday, the new Silver Spring Library opened with a bus, with a light rail stop by it. I mean, that's thinking positive, I guess. But it's interesting. Last night at the Chamber Awards dinner, it was most interesting because the lieutenant governor got up and said, well, we made a little announcement today. And the business community, it was so positive and supportive.
That's why Hogan did it.
Yesterday.
The business community was behind it.
Yep.
They
He
got
did
it.
And his
wanna do it.
transportation secretary.
That's right.
Yes.
He listened to him.
they just said
And
this is the
also,
right thing
it
to
was
do.
a compromise. Politics is the art of compromise. And he made provision for
Correct.
roads and bridges in the other parts of the county
Right.
that supported him. And this
And he
as
also
well.
said
And maybe I think that your bus issue is
I hope so.
is
I was on a
important. I
bus
mean-
the other day that fell apart on the
Oh my
on the
gosh.
entrance ramp to the
but you know,
Beltway.
the
So-
governor also though killed the red line in Baltimore. So he is
do it
trying to
all.
balance things out. But anyway, we're going to talk about that again, I know too. So parting shots coming up next. And now with parting shots, Lou.
Much to John's chagrin, I think that Prince George's County voters are going to balk at ponying up more money for the Purple Line, and I expect that their delegation sooner or later will be negotiating with Annapolis to increase the state share.
Well, and you're not going to be there, nor are you. So what can I say? Okay, Robin.
I read in the Washington Post today that a bear got off of 270 and walked past a daycare center.
Oh my goodness.
And the police who were asked about it said that maybe they would try to shoot it with a tranquilizer, since I gather it was limping. Not a good sign. We need a policy of relocating bears in Montgomery
Oh my
County,
goodness.
and we don't have one. The policy is if the bear's not hurting anyone, let's not bother the bear. This is not the case in states where there are a lot of bears. And having had a situation where a bear was walking down our street a few years ago and called the police and they didn't care, I think we need a more concerted policy on how to deal with very dangerous animals that are wandering around the streets.
Oh, that's an interesting note there. Okay, Jean, you're next.
On Tuesday night, I went to an interesting dinner. It was in Baltimore. It was a sellout, and it featured Donald Trump. And I want to tell you, he absolutely brought the house down. He was funny. He didn't have a script. He was engaging. He had members of his family there, including Ivanka. And he talked about his book. One of the things he referred to was his book. It's called The Art of the Deal. And he says if anybody can make a deal, he knows how to handle it. So I'm just thinking maybe candidates and the rest of us should take a look at that book, The Art of the Deal.
And are you ready to support him? That's the question. John, you're last today.
My shout out is to two great Americans, two Republicans appointed by a Republican president, Justice Kennedy and Justice Roberts. They did the right thing for this country. It's very hard for them to do that. I mean, being Republicans, but to support the right path forward, that's what makes this country great. And I really congratulate them, and I congratulate the Republican president who appointed them, frankly.
This going down has got to be one of the weeks in my lifetime that is just absolutely monumentally today and yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, we are going to have health care for all, and now marriage is for all, and it is just amazing. And after 35 years, we have the purple line. We can only hope.
so
So,
good.
on behalf, John, we've always disagreed on that. On behalf of everyone at 21 This Week, I wish our viewers a very happy 4th of July. Stay safe as you celebrate our nation's independence. And so until next time, follow 21 This Week on social media. See you soon from Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. And for 21 This Week, I'm Susan Heltemes. Bye for now.